Pretty crazy.
And we're going to continue our budget hearing. So today is November 9th, 2016. We're following our regular council meeting. It's approximately 8:20 p.m. And we're going to open up for public comment on budget issues only.
Good evening again. My name is Chad Steubenbort, resident of Minerville. Just wanted to address two things that are budget related that were made at the end of the meeting. Number one, I never recommended outsourcing refuse collection. I recommended looking at an additional revenue source.
I didn't say you did. I
wait.
said that we discussed that as a council.
So that was the one point I wanted to make. Number two, never brought up any of those other things. So again, I'm just going to make a blanket statement. I recommend looking at cutting 1.59% and balancing the budget without fund utilization. No plans to outsource. No plans on shutting down or combining the center.
Chad, I have to address, I mean, your point, everybody wants to cut, okay? Everybody wants to, run an organization as nimble as possible. Doesn't matter if it's a municipality or Joe's Auto Body Shop. And your point is well taken. Back in 2009, just to give you a little history, and you may know better about it than I do, because you lived here at that time, I didn't. The municipality brought in an outside consultant to cut, okay? And if I'm not mistaken, everybody cut 10% from their budget. Not 1.5, 10%. Where before, little things like, we had water coolers upstairs, that was taken out. Now we pay for it ourselves, the employees, okay? So then I come on board in 2010. I'm given a mandate by council to cut 10%, 5% from budgets again. And on top of that, people retire, they're not replaced. All right. Now we fast forward to the present, and I'm just giving you a Reader's Digest version. You fast forward to the present. You can only cut and cut and cut so much. Now, can we cut more? Unquestionably. We can cut till the cows come home. We can cut the senior citizens. We can cut the whole thing. Council can say, we're not going to have, and I'm being, over the top, and you know that. I mean, we can say to the Senior Citizen Center, we're really, really going to, hey, we can't afford it, we're going to cut 25% from your budget. We can cut the TV station, not have it, okay? We can cut what we give to the library, all right? We're slated possibly to hire 2 more police officers. We can tell Mr. Cole, we're not doing that. All right, that saves us $400,000. But we have a mission here, just like you have a mission on the school board. We have a mission to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Now, a large part of that is law enforcement, and a large part of that is doing simple things that you do in paving roads. Now, through the decades and through the century, municipalities have taken on libraries, park and recreation, senior citizen centers, and they make a quality of life in the community. They increase property values, and they make Monroeville, our community park, we get rave reviews in a community park. The council back in 2006 could have decided I don't even know what it cost, $12 million. I hear all kind of different figures on what it cost for the community park. And at that time, we had maybe $20 million in the I think it was $20 million in the coffers going back 12 years ago. They could have decided, no, we're not doing that. We're not building the community park. Well, they made the decision to build the community park. And now it's a very good decision. History has shown that was a very good decision. Now, if you had somebody on council at that time said, no, we can't do that, that's too frivolous. But they did it. Now, there was thoughts of maybe putting a swimming pool up at the park, but we haven't done that. So every council has their ideas on what a quality of life in a community is. My bottom line point is you keep cutting, you keep cutting, you keep cutting, you're not going to have one of the better communities in Allegheny County. And 3 years ago, I showed a chart on where communities are on a maturation process. and you hit an apex, you start out very small as a rural area, you hit an apex, and then you start on a downward slope. And if you look at it as a clock, with noon being your apex, we're about at 1 o'clock coming down on a downward slope. And we want to prevent that. We want to put a stopgap in there. Now, does that mean you look at your budget and do the things that you're talking about? Unquestionably, you do. And we do that. We do that. And I think the mayor pointed out rather poignantly on what he does with his money, and everybody else up here statutorily are permitted to get. And you can cut that. Everybody up here can say, okay, we're not going to get that money, which equals up to about $25,000. But it's not going to do anything to the quality of life in Monroeville. But it helps the people up on this dais, it helps them out tremendously to help govern this community. And that's why the state legislature puts that in the borough code from decades ago, that they can do that. So there's two sides of the coin to look at when you're looking at cutting and cutting and cutting. And you want to also keep the morale of the employees up. If you constantly don't replace people in departments, they get tired of being overstressed, trying to complete things that can't be complete. Then I complain to them, council complains to me, and then you just have a bad place to work. And you want to try to prevent that also. So you always have to be cognizant of those kind of things when you bring up cutting. You get to a point where you just can't cut anymore.
Yeah, and I agree. I think right now that we're just scratching the budget. We're not really digging deep. You had said if you keep cutting, you're going to have a municipality that no one wants to live in. Well, if we keep spending, we're going to have a municipality that no one's going to want to live in. And if you look at Penn Hills, you look at these other areas around us, that's what they've done. They've spent money frivolously. They have gone way above and beyond their means, and they're left with those financial problems. And we all sit here and say, how the heck did Penn Hills School Board do that? How the heck did they ever get to that point? When we have $4.8 million in our general fund, and we're targeted to utilize $700,000 to $500,000 each and every year, something's got to turn. We're either going to continue to increase taxes, which if we look at municipalities and boroughs that have high millage rates, you'll see the kind of municipalities that those represent. So we most likely don't want to continue to raise and raise and raise. So all I'm asking is just to look at some alternative ways. You had said council's pay is $25,000. I understand, out of a $31 million budget, that is minuscule. But to tell the public what that represents, right, $25,000 represents half of a new police officer's starting salary. Right? They start off at $54,000.
That is correct.
That's not true.
Well, with benefits, it's more.
Yeah, but their starting salary, which I stated, it is correct. So I'm not saying that that's going to save the municipality by getting rid of the $300 or $400. I know, I'm very well aware that's a nominal amount. But if we continue to look at those ways, I think anyone, if you ask the public, because, Greg, you had mentioned, well, when we ask the public, do we want to do this with the dispatch center, do we want to do this with refuse, this is what they came back to say. If you ask the public, hey, would you rather us get $300 a month, or would you rather us have half a police officer's salary paid for, I think we know what they would say there. So I don't want to dwell on one point. I just want to ask that we look at alternative ways. Look at overtime spending. Some of these departments' overtime is ridiculous if you guys have looked at that. And
Chad, to bring, your point is well taken, but to bring up just the overtime is there. If you're talking about the police department, probably more so.
Any department.
It's there because why? Because officers haven't been replaced. Doug Cole does a good job as far as keeping court time down. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scene that we try to impart upon the public, but you can't impart everything upon the public.
No, I agree. I just recommend that we look at, if we look at the animal control, right, it's 4 hours or 8 hours of overtime each and every weekend. Look at just changing around the schedule. Maybe he works 8 hours less during the weekend. That way we're not paying overtime each and every year. I know you guys went into that one a lot and pretty deep
last year. We did, right.
But I'm just suggesting look at alternative ways, dig a little bit deeper.
When a police officer makes a late arrest, how do you stop overtime?
No, I never mentioned police overtime.
When the snow falls, how do you stop overtime?
Well, that one actually is pretty manageable. You can look at alternating schedules, so instead of people coming in at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, they can start later in the day, and that way you can take away a few hours.
Well, we would need a bigger public works force to do that, Chad.
Again, I'm just...
Sometimes spending overtime is less expensive than hiring.
Tim, I'd like to ask a question to you. Sure. When does council get overtime?
Thank you.
No, council doesn't get it.
Oh, we don't,
It's not in the
oh,
borough code.
okay, thank you.
No, and I agree, and I think public servants are
Well, I mean, I want to get back to one point on what you mentioned, Chad, about other places spending money frivolously, indicating that we're spending money frivolously. And I do not believe we are spending money frivolously. The lion's share of the cost in this municipality and any other municipality, as well as school districts, as you well know, Chad, are labor costs and benefits.
Absolutely.
That's the lion's share. So not replacing people, police officers when they retire, public works people, people here in the administrative staff, and I can give it to you
No,
on how
absolutely.
many,
I mean, your budget, 70.
how much money this municipality has saved since the year 2000 with not replacing people. I went through that 3 years ago on the 2014 budget. So I would not venture to say that this municipality spends money frivolously. What you can say is that we have decent salaries here in this municipality. Now, that's not something that you're going to get rid of with union contracts you're negotiating. You're not going to get rid of that. Okay, that kind of thing doesn't happen overnight. All right, in order to get things in line. I think we had a very successful Act 111 interest arbitration. I think it was very fair. I think we made some headway there. There are areas in which we're making headway in saving money. As I mentioned, our fund balance is looking better. To touch on that a little bit. The other thing, too, if you looked in the budget, and not $1 million was not budgeted to bring back $1 million from our OPEB fund, other post-employment benefits. All right. Now, what I've mentioned to council with my budget message is that we're trying to make it so, see if the general fund can sustain a little bit of not bringing back $1 million, but saving $300,000. That may be why the fund balance is there. We can bring money back in from the OPEB fund. I'm trying to see how that goes. That we've only taken $250,000. We were budgeted $1 million this year. We've only taken $250,000 from the OPEB. The general fund has sustained that. Plus, the fund balance is getting a little bit better, even given that. So our cash flow is doing pretty well. But if we go into next year, my point being, if we go into next year and on our balance sheet, the accounts receivable we'll be having for the OPEB fund to take money in, we may not have to take it out of the fund balance. That fund balance, you know about budgeting, you're on a school board. That fund balance is there to balance out the budget. Whether we use it or not, we didn't use it this year. So whether we use it or not remains to be seen. We can take it out of the OPEB fund because that's going to be on our accounts receivable balance sheet. All right. So we're trying to save money. Everything that you're looking at right now, I understand what you're saying. But one thing I do want to say is we're not spending money frivolously.
No, I agree, and I don't think we are yet. But I think we are approaching a crossroads, and we can be a thriving neighborhood, or we can be a neighborhood that spends money like Penn Hills. We oftentimes paint in politics, right? It's either the worst, the world's going to end, snow's going to be all over the streets, we're not going to have any co-ops, crime's going to be up, well, it's already up, but all these things are going to happen if we make cuts, and I just don't believe that to be true. I think there are some ways we can look at to make some cuts to save some money, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we'll leave it open for any public comments. Seeing none, and we'll move over to Joe, one of our department heads, Joe Sedlak, from Human Resources. If you would, Joe.
Okay, I'm here to talk about insurance, which
Are
is
you
always
from
exciting.
Monroeville? Are you from Monroeville?
Yeah, I'm from Monroeville.
Thank you.
For a
You're
while.
sure?
Did you
For a
sign
while,
in?
yeah. As far as I know.
What page you on, Joe?
Page 25.
That is right.
It's Department 1600.
What is it?
25.
25,
Oh, they're the wrong sheet.
Department 1600.
Okay. There's stacks full of shit.
Okay, there?
Okay.
Right. Okay, first is liability and property insurance. And what that includes is for the municipality, public officials, police, the PACS policy, which is a property, general liability, crime, and inland marine, which is the equipment, commercial auto, umbrella, as well as we pay for the fire department's insurance, property liability insurance as well, out of that fund. That is for the firefighters, it's approximately $125,000 every year. That's what we pay. And the rest is the municipality, so it's around $250,000, a little more than that actually for us. That's going to go up a little bit. As you know, we had the lawsuits, which generate our deductibles. And so every time we get a lawsuit, that comes out of our deductible. So there's some times where we get sued for no fault of our own, but we have to defend ourselves, and so we pay, and so that's why that's going up this year. Workers' comp. The workers' comp, I have 3 different workers' comp. For the municipality, it is with Harry. With the Monroeville Fire Department, it's with SWIFT. And with the Monroeville EMS, it's UPMC Work Partners. And I can tell you right now that for the Monroeville EMS, that's going up $10,000 this year because payroll increases. We're going to go up approximately $10,000 or $15,000 due to payroll increases. Workers' comp is figured out on payroll.
That's
how
correct.
it goes.
Correct.
So to play it safe, that's overtime, that's everything. Anything W-2 related gets audited, that's how they figure out your workers' comp. So that's just going up because of overtime and other things like that.
Your workman's comp went up $130,000 since 15, correct?
Workers' comp? For us? For the municipality, it was about $288,000.
I'm not seeing that.
Okay. You're not looking at employment, are you?
Workers' comp, second line
Then
down.
we spent
Yeah,
That's a combination, though, for,
216.
it's not just the municipality.
yeah.
Joe, I think that's what they're missing.
400,000.
They're looking for that 288 number.
No, they're all 3 together, out of there.
So, Joe, I'm sorry, the 288, is that out of the 540, you're saying?
Yes.
For 2017, 288 is?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Unemployment insurance, we could probably drop that down. It's just a nice safety net because if anybody leaves generally, even part-time people, they apply for unemployment. And we fight everyone to try to make sure they don't get paid if they don't deserve it. So,
Well, when have we ever spent that kind of money on, I don't see anything from back from 13 all the way till now that,
it's been a while. It's been a while since we have.
Our
So we
actual,
could-
Our actual is under $400 that we spent this year, correct, year to date?
Right, 930.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a few
Does seem
part-time
high,
people.
though, Joe. Just
Yeah.
So we could even
We
cut
could
that
drop
in
that
half.
down.
What are you all recommending?
I'm saying at least cut it in half.
Yeah.
Cut it in half as a starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah, no,
That'd be safe.
I think we can probably cut that.
And we've been successful fighting a couple that we could have paid, so
Okay.
we have.
So everybody's okay, hang on, everybody's okay with cutting it in half then?
Yes. Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at the years in the
The
past,
expenditure.
We're not even
Right.
close.
it's not,
No,
20
I
20
get
would,
that, but I
But
just want to
we
make
need-
sure
we need
everybody's
a
on the
cushion,
same
though.
page.
20,000 would more than cover, yeah.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, the highest is 8,300 in 14, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next,
Finally, it's the deductibles, and that's actually with our health insurance. We pay for the deductibles for the employees and retirees.
Wait, you skipped over miscellaneous insurance.
Oh, did I?
Yes?
Okay. Miscellaneous insurance. It's a catch-all, just in case.
Okay, because we have 0, 0, 0, and then $169, and now we're at 5. What's it, what is it for exactly?
If we go over, I went over so far on property and liability this year.
Okay,
So it's there in case, like an umbrella insurance, if we go over.
because we have to
so much again.
guesstimate,
Yeah. Because we're not going to have actual numbers till December.
right.
They're being marketed now. So in December, I'll have actual numbers for you from
Okay.
the brokers. So,
Okay.
okay?
So it's not a separate actual insurance, it actually is just covering the other ones you're talking about.
Right.
For overages or,
Right.
yeah, okay.
Exactly, exactly.
Makes sense.
Finally, deductibles, that's for a high mark for the employees and retirees. We pay for the healthcare deductibles. And as you can see, we're at 263 right now, but that's going to go up to probably 340 at least. And we're not till December yet as well.
Well, you
So,
still have the last quarter to go.
we still have the last month to go.
Right,
then-
right. So what are we averaging a month here? Let's say 263 through 9. So it's about 30,000, or,
It's an
yeah,
average,
about
but,
$30,000.
yeah, but it varies month to month.
Right, I understand,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying the average.
Right,
So through 12, it should be around 360, another 100,000.
right. We'll get close because we have December yet, which we'll have to pay for in
Right,
January.
right.
So-
Okay.
Right.
What would be the absolute maximum that would be, that line item?
That would be for, it depends on, the family is $3,000 and the individuals are $1,500. So I have to figure out,
It depends on,
yeah, that'd be if everyone used their deductibles a whole year,
Yeah.
and that would be the amount that, it's close to that. to
So that way you're
$400,000.
covered just in case?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
but still overall, this certainly saves money.
We're saving money, absolutely,
Yeah.
by doing it this way.
Okay.
Okay?
And is there an increase with Highmark this year?
Well, the
About
health insurance went up
25%?
8.5% this year.
How much?
8.5%.
Oh, wow, that's terrific.
Compared to what everybody else is doing.
Well, we had 17% for
Right.
16, right?
Right,
Yeah,
So-
okay, thank you.
okay? Good?
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Good job.
Okay, Tim, you are up.
Okay,
Could you please go to the podium so we can see you?
Said age.
page 1. No, page 9. All right, usually I give a report on the mayor and municipal council. Nothing really has changed any kind of significance on the council. In fact, it dropped, maybe about $1,800. Does anybody have any questions on your budget?
Continue.
Okay, under my budget, I gave council a little cheat sheet, just the different highlights of my budget. The budget overall has reduced 30-some thousand, more than 30-some thousand, a little $38,000, and basically that's because last year, Sharon, she was in my budget last year, and coming up this year, being a 1099 employee, she's now dispersed, as Paul reported in his budget, with the zoning hearing board council on her fees for doing the stenography, so that's cut out. As everybody knows, I put in my budget message for a part-time right-to-know officer, and my understanding from council is if they wanted to discuss it or they wanted to remove that from the budget, what's council's pleasure on that?
I want it removed. I don't want to pay that kind of money because Mr. Yakem can't quit filing right to knows.
What's that have to do with whether we can respond to all these right-to-knows or not?
Well, if there's half as many,
I'm sorry, Linda, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah.
I said I don't like the idea of having to pay $15,000 more because Mr. Yakem can't keep his pen down.
All right, I have a question on that. I mean, this has been going on for years, and we've been able to cover it, correct, Joe? Now, before, when you had an overload, did you give those to the solicitor?
No, what happens is if there's an appeal, okay, if I deny an individual and they appeal it, it goes to the Open Records Office in Harrisburg. Okay, at that point, they decide whether to uphold my denial or grant the information to the person. So at that point, I give it to the solicitor, and generally, we'll go downtown to court if it's something that we feel strongly about that we should not give out. So there's some things that go down to court in Pittsburgh. Once you open record office, we go through that process. The next process is going to court in town. And Bob, you could speak to this better than I can.
I guess, no, my question, didn't Chelsea do like hundreds of them? It was
No.
my understanding.
No, I do them all. I do them all.
She has the appeals.
Yeah,
She
it's just when they
did
go
the
to the
ones
appeal.
that went to court.
Yeah,
The appeals.
There were probably, I'm going to guess, some of it off the top of my head, maybe 20 of them or so.
right,
Well, that's not the way I understood it, but, okay.
right.
And then, are you done, Steve?
Yes.
And then, Joe, in that situation, when it goes to court, do you go? Do you have to go as an employee, or is it just the solicitor?
No, he has to go as a fact
As the
witness.
open, yeah.
Yeah,
The
he's
open-
my
as the-
principal witness usually. And many times, if in fact we don't get it resolved at that level, and we have an actual hearing, then sometimes, let's say it's a police matter, in addition to Joe going, Doug has to go down. So, we end up having a couple people going down depending on what the issue is.
So there's a lot of labor. I mean, the point is,
Oh, yeah,
everybody's trying to make, there's a
yeah.
lot of labor and time and money being spent on these.
Well, yeah, I will tell you, some of them get worked out at the administrative level, one level at the Office of Open Records, and some of them also get worked out after an appeal is filed with the Court of Common Pleas, because the judge puts a lot of pressure on both parties to try to resolve them. So we've had relatively few hearings, but we have had hearings.
Jimmy, you had a comment?
Yeah, would you not have to have somebody that knows what they're doing? As
Yeah.
far as whatever?
I think what you would need is you would need a person that knows the documents that somebody will be requesting, somebody that knows municipalities. I mean, they don't have to know specifically, but what you're looking for here is somebody to assist in the research, to copy things, to get things, to research things, to get them off the computer, to get it off of Munis, to do things of that nature. If somebody's looking, for instance, for, somebody files an RTK for the liquid fuels calculation or something, well, at least somebody may not know or have done a liquid fuel, but they know of it, and they know, and Joe would, well, yeah, the CFO has that, or Tim
That's gonna
has that.
generate one right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a legwork issue where, like Joe said to a question, yeah, sometimes it may take a whole day to answer one. Other times it may take a minute where it's right at your fingertips.
And a lot of it is repetitive, or if someone, it really gets me when I'm reading these and I'll see someone wants a video of a council meeting. Well, they're all available at the library for checkout.
Right.
You can go to the library and check one out. Why put our man that we're paying X amount of dollars an hour, 2 hours to go get this tape, generate the tape, get it to you?
Well, as an aside, Steve, and I mentioned this at the staff meeting, and Doug and I have talked about this, and we've talked about it at a staff meeting. It's more sensitive with the police departments. What I've read in publications and public management and things of that nature, national publications, a lot of different municipalities, and I'm talking nationally, what they're trying to do with the technology we have today is virtually, and I'm emphasizing the word virtually put everything on the website. So if you want it,
Go get it.
you go get it. Now, with police reports, there are certain things you can do, but things have to be redacted.
Well, naturally.
Now, and that comes on occasions, you may have a police report somebody wants. But, I mean, there's municipalities that put invoices, that put, everything, and I'm not talking about necessarily in Pennsylvania. Now, you need a person to do that, just to scan the stuff and to get it on the website. So the whole issue with technology and transparency is a good thing, but there's a lag time in trying to catch up, in trying to accommodate the law that was passed in 2009 here in the Commonwealth. You have the technology where I'm saying, just put it on the website, and if somebody wants something, there it is, and it's in files, and you can put this all into different files, and they have to go look, and it may take them 15 minutes to find it, instead of having Joe doing it. Just go on the website.
Let's just do here, I'd like to hear some more flavor of council. How do you all feel?
I tend to agree with Linda in regards to not doing it.
Tom?
I agree with Linda and Steve.
I want to back out of the weeds a little bit. So you're asking for 15 grand? For what? What is, operationally, what is that doing?
Joe didn't come to me about this. This was me.
No, and yeah,
Just so you know that.
I just want
All
to,
right.
what are we paying for?
All right, like I said, it would be a part-time person that would come in as needed for somebody to do research, and as JJ just said, somebody that knows the different documents of a municipality. You're not going to be able to hire somebody that has never worked in a municipality, that's not going to work.
So you're going to have to hire a past employee that's no longer working full-time that would have a clue to where even
Yeah.
to look.
Not true.
Not necessarily.
I feel that Joe's doing a good job.
You may not find anybody, I don't know.
You do a great job, Jeff.
Well, and how long, how much time is there to respond? So if you get a right to know on a Monday, how much time would need to be respond? I mean, and what I'm getting at, if it's a part-time person, is it someone that wouldn't have to be here every day, or
5 business days to answer.
so 5 business days from whenever you actually get the
From the day I receive it, I have 5 business days after that.
And you can
then
ask for extensions, correct?
I can ask for a 30-day extension. There's 5 reasons why you can ask for extension. If it's something that's large, if it's something that involves a lot of people, where I have to get a lot of information, I ask for 30-day extensions.
So, average, how many hours a week are you spending on Right to Knows?
I can tell you, just today, I spent at least 5 hours today on it. At least today.
So-
And I'll spend at least 4 hours tomorrow on it, because I have, as you know, I have a lot due on Friday. So,
Because on one part of me, I tend to agree with my esteemed colleagues here, but on the other side, just operationally, I mean, if this is taking 50%, 25% of your time to do this,
Takes away
I
from.
think it's a 15 grand well spent.
Responsibilities.
We can't stop people from filing frivolous Right to Knows. We can't
It's not going to stop.
legislate
It's going to get worse.
how we can or can, with a time limit, to respond to them. I just kind of look at things operationally, and, I mean, if Joe's spending, 25, 30, 40% of his time doing the Right to Knows,
Is that every week, or is
I think
is
it's
that
one-
unusual? Is it,
I usually get, you see how many I get. And I've got, so far this year, it's 186 total. So, some weeks I'll spend a good part of the week doing just Right to Know requests. And some weeks I don't. It
in some ways,
changes,
it changes, because I've seen like where you'll get 7 at one time.
or 9.
Yes, or 9.
So
Yeah.
Joe, out of the 186 this year, how many were from one individual?
98.
98 out of 186 were from
I don't
one.
have, you know what, Nick?
Should be a way to charge it for that 98.
It'd be 390.
You're not going to
Yeah.
stop.
I mean, Joe, are you able to complete your other assignment?
No offense, but that's
Yeah, I
what
mean,
it is.
you know me, Steve. I do whatever I
step
have
up
to
to the
do.
plate.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's, I make sure it gets done.
And Steve, that's a good question, because, Joe.
Well, I know in the past, not just Joe, but we've compensated, just last year, certain employees for stepping up to the plate and taking that extra workload.
I don't question.
So we don't forget that we've done that.
I don't question the spending the $15,000. My question is that how do we find someone that can be qualified to come in and help them? Because if we hire somebody that, let's say off the street, and they have to go to Joe every time they get one of these forms and say, Joe, what do I get this, what do I get that?
Tom, very good point. You do have to find an individual.
That's my only issue.
Yeah, you do have to find an individual that they understand the name of a document, they've seen the document before, they've worked on the document to make it worthwhile. You are correct. You are correct.
Okay, Jim,
Absolutely.
we've heard from your other 3 colleagues to your right there. What's your thoughts on this?
Myself, personally, I feel, Joe does a great job. I just don't think we need to spend $15,000 for a part-time employee that I personally don't think you're going to find anybody.
Hang on.
That's my opinion.
No, that's why I'm asking everybody's opinion. Ron?
I'm in favor of it, but I think they bring up a good point that the person would have to be here a very long time to start knowing the system the way Joe knows it. And I'm not trying to lay it all on Joe, I'm just saying that we're going to be paying a part-time employee for a long time before they're into the swing of things and
Right.
know where to find these documents. That's my only problem. If we had somebody that had the knowledge, or even part of the knowledge that Joe did, I'd be in favor of hiring him to help.
Nick?
I'm not in favor of it. I mean, I think Joe does a great job. I mean, we'd love to get him more help, but perhaps maybe something that we maybe log or pay attention to over the next year, if there's a way to maybe figure out, how much time actually is spent. Because we can look at the numbers, how many requests there are. Maybe we need a better picture throughout the course of the year of how much time is being spent, and then we can reevaluate this next year.
Okay, Tim, you have your answer. Next, please.
Okay,
Excuse me, Tim, I just have one comment to make. Isn't it a shame that we have to spend this much time talking about the right to knows
How very
and
true.
trying to get some additional funding to help Joe?
well,
Because most of them are frivolous and,
if it wasn't that, then it would be something else, Tom.
I know.
You know.
And it's also the law of the land.
Yes,
It'd
you
be
did.
something else.
Yeah.
So you always have something to discuss and make decisions over. Okay, the next item in my budget is the last phase of updating our code, our Bible of the municipality, our code book. And we have $4,850 left with that. We've spent so far, paid to date $13,350. The contract was for $18,200. So there hasn't been much really done this year because, as everybody knows, Sean Lally has been out, and I've picked up some of the slack in the finances, so I haven't had the time to donate to this like I did in the previous year in 2015.
Any questions, or, I know we've discussed this at length when that first came up. Go ahead, continue then, Jim.
Okay, next one, seminar expenses. We, as the mayor just mentioned before, we all go up to the ALOM conference in Seven Springs. That's part of it.
Yeah, I know.
I'd like to go to the International City Managers Association Conference instead of the Pennsylvania Municipal Managers Conference next year, and go to that. And then also, I'd like to take Joe Sedlak, speaking of him being the Human Resources Officer, to what is, I've mentioned before, is the PELRAS Conference, which is a Public Employers Labor Relations Advisory Service, which is at Penn State every March. And it is touted as one of the best, if not the best, conferences in the state for managers, even attorneys. They have 500 people that attend that every year, and I'd like to have Joe go to
And
that.
any issue with that, counsel? I certainly don't have any.
Good value.
Next, Tim.
Okay, advertising expenses. This one right here, I've kept this at $17,000 because, as council can see, I think the 2015, what we spent at $19,000 was an anomaly to some degree. And I'm going to keep this at $17,000, even though we're still going to the Post-Gazette, and which is more expensive.
Next, Tim.
And I'm going to monitor this very closely. There may have to be some transfers. If, for instance, we have a lot of conditional use public hearings that have to be advertised, then that's going to be more advertising expense, and there may have to be a transfer. But I'm going to keep that at $17,000.
Any questions on that item, counsel? Continue,
Okay,
Tim.
office equipment and repair, that's been reduced by $2,500 because $2,000 is under office furniture and equipment. I don't know how they got flipped around in past years, but that's down below in 5308. Dues and memberships for the Association of Pennsylvania Municipal Managers, Western Pennsylvania Managers, PELRAS, and American Planning Association, which I'm a member of. They have gone up slightly, and so that's at $1,200.
Any questions on that, counsel? I don't think that, no issue, Tim. Next.
Okay, office furniture and equipment, I increased that by $500, and for two reasons. Dara and I would like to get chairs for each of our respective offices. We need new chairs, and also the credenza in my office is somewhat precarious. I've had it fixed by Public Works twice since I've been back here for 3 years, and it's
falling apart.
It's not falling, I'm not saying it's falling apart, but
It's old.
it's more so the runners on the drawers that come out, and they've been fixed twice already. So if it's fine, it's fine. Won't spend any money there, but
Counsel?
just anticipating.
No blinds for the window, right? I just had to say that, I'm sorry.
New curtains.
And the other thing I usually go over with council too is the solicitor, Department of Law, which is on page 19. Virtually, I dropped it a little bit. The total, last year's budget was $240,000. I dropped this to $222,000, mainly because outside legal services has been dropped because, as I was mentioning before, we had the Act 111 interest arbitration last year with Campbell Durant Beatty, who was our labor counsel on that. We will not have that. They're finishing up their billing of us because the final police contract, actually the actual contract is actually done. It's been gone through ad nauseum. It's been gone through over and over again by Campbell Durant Beatty and also the police's solicitor, Eric Stoltenberg, and we actually have an actual document to sign here very shortly. And that is all I have, unless council has any other questions.
I do not.
Okay, and there's no public here, so I'm
Wait,
seeking,
wait.
oh, I'm sorry.
Can I ask if we can add something into the budget that was discussed before?
Sure.
I would like to ask, to recommend that we are able to each pick 3 summer help for the summer help program, that we each get 3 picks, and raise the rate to $10 an hour from $8 an hour. It will help out some of our young people in the community. It will help out our public works as well. And maybe start advertising that in February to give people a heads up. And
Are you proposing that as a add-on or a motion, or what are you doing?
however it needs to be done, but,
What do we
you know,
currently get, one?
one person,
One,
and it
$8
used to be
an
as
hour.
many as
And
5.
it's at $8 an hour.
I can remember it being as many as 5 or 6.
Right.
That was
It's
a
currently
lot.
at $8 an hour.
But as
I'm-
she says, that's
loved being here
good,
as
that's good help at a cheap,
Correct.
Right.
And I think if we go to $10, you would have more interest, because you can go get a job at Starbucks where they don't have to be there till 3 in the afternoon. We all know they like to sleep in instead of being at work at 6:30 in the morning. So the little bit more incentive on the dollar amount, and start advertising a little sooner, and I think we help out the kids in the
Are
community.
you making this a motion, Lynn?
I would love to.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
Specific-
questions or comments? Hang on.
Specifically with
Yeah,
with the
with
motion.
discussion.
It's for 3 picks per console,
Correct.
$10 an hour salary. I have a motion and a second to approve, and I'm now going to open up for any other comments from council.
Yes, Mayor.
Motion to approve?
there's,
There's already a motion
okay,
and a
okay.
second. Go ahead, Nick.
So, no, I have a question for Mrs. Gatos. So is this, we spoke about the part-time public works employees, I guess that was last meeting?
Right.
Is that, we're talking about the same thing
That's
here?
it, yes.
Well, it was actually.
Oh, no, that's not it.
No, this would not be like part-time employees, because then you have to, that falls into with the union. This would be our summer help program that used to be Thriving.
Correct.
Which has now gone down to 1 person each. So instead of doing the part-time employees, we would do more summer help. They can help out the public works. So I think it benefits all the way around.
Well,
So, I guess it is in lieu of.
In lieu of.
Getting public works.
Right.
Correct.
And I agree. I mean, if we can get more, I mean, essentially that is more public works help.
and can they cut the grass?
And,
and I think, oh, no, I'm sorry, go
no, if
ahead.
I, no, you're, but if, what the things they can do definitely, which I think beneficial to the Parks program or the Parks Department, is some of the weed whacking, the power washing that hasn't been getting done, painting that hasn't been getting done.
Correct.
And definitely help out our park system. So I think it's a great idea.
With more picks, I think that can happen. I mean, they can actually, they can go out on the road with the road crews if that's what the Public Works needs. Sure. So there's all kinds of, if someone wants to come and help administratively here in the Borough Building, that as well.
The manager can decide how they.
Correct, but, I think that we open it up a little bit more, we bring in some more young people, and, kind of help everybody in all areas.
I agree.
And currently, I believe we have some standards as far as college grads or.
They have to be at least 18, high school grad going to college. Am I correct? That's the standards, I think.
So we maintain those standards?
Yes.
Or
Do
Or
we
is it,
have
is it,
to?
or is it worth looking into, if anyone just wants some part-time work? I mean, there's a lot of people that need jobs, and
I
I
think
mean, I know
I'd
it's
look
not.
at that way.
You know what, there are people that
I don't know.
are older that could do
Oh, no, I
some of
agree.
this work
I was just
that.
curious if we were going to maintain the same standards. or not.
I love the question asked, because I don't see any, over 18 is acceptable, but why do they have to be going to
Well,
college?
that's what we've been doing, and I just asked Bob, our solicitor,
think
can
that's
we
the
do
council
that for anybody,
restriction.
18? And he said, yeah.
Okay, so it can
Whatever
be.
you all
18.
decide. Yeah, he's
That-
older.
Oh, yeah, I don't want a
Gotta be 18,
12-year-old.
though.
So do we modify the motion then? Do we change?
I
we
think
change
you
the
can
standards?
set, I think you can, this is only to get the money in the budget. I think you can set whatever standards you want relative to hiring them. So I think all you need here is the authorization to put the money into the budget.
Okay.
The changes would be at
And then
maybe
when
the
you
next
pass
council
budget,
meeting.
You're passing.
And then we start advertising earlier, because we didn't really get a whole lot of feedback. And I don't know if